Hi everyone, welcome to Showtime Talk. I'm your host Tomoya. On this channel, I invite experts and guests to talk about baseball. Today I have Jeff Fletcher, the Angels beat writer for the Orange County Register, to talk about Shohei Ohtani and other major league news. So let's get started. Hi Jeff.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Where are you now?
I'm in Arlington, Texas. Angels are playing the Rangers this week, 4-game series.
All right, tell us a little bit about Arlington, Texas, and the Rangers' new stadium.
The new stadium is very nice. It doesn't look great from the outside. It looks a little bit like a big warehouse, so it's not really that appealing. But from the inside, it's very nice and roomy. The seats are comfortable, and there's a good view from most of the seats. The press box is not great, just because it's so high up and you don't really get a great view. You have to kind of crane your neck to look over your laptop screen. But beyond that, it's probably great for everybody who's not in the press box. And it's a pretty nice ballpark.
Awesome. How about Arlington?
Arlington is just sort of a little suburb that's halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth, and they have some amusement parks and stadiums. There's also the Cowboys Stadium here. There's not a whole lot going on in Arlington other than like tourists coming in for amusement parks and baseball games and hotels and that kind of thing.
So you can't really walk around like downtown, other downtown areas.
No, I actually compare Arlington as a lot like Anaheim in that sense. Anaheim is, kind of the Disneyland, and then there's hotels and restaurants and stuff like that for people to go to Disneyland.
Have you been following the Olympics?
Not too much at all. I watched a little snippets of some things, but not really too much. I don't know. I think that they're, with baseball going on, especially people who are baseball fans, there's so much baseball going on this time of year. It's really tough to pull away to pay attention to the Olympics. Maybe if you're more of a fan of the other sports that aren't playing right now, you might be watching a little more of the Olympics, but I would certainly not choose to watch the Olympics over a baseball game right now.
Let's talk about the Angels and Ohtani. Ohtani was named to his second straight MVP of the month. What's your take on how Ohtani did in July?
He's been great. He was great in June and July. He's been great as a hitter and a pitcher. He bounced back very nicely from that game at Yankee Stadium where he, didn't make it out of the first inning. And I think there might have been some people that were wondering if something was going wrong with him or maybe he was going to start to go downhill. But he responded from that very well, and he's pitched very well since then. And he's kept hitting. He's, a little bit since the All-Star break, he's had a little bit of a slump, which I think might be just because he's pressing a little bit because the Angels have so many other hitters injured. So he might be feeling, more of a responsibility to shoulder all of the offensive load himself, which is hard to do in baseball. But I'm sure that he will get himself righted pretty soon.
Can you tell us about the condition of his thumb, where it became sore after being hit by a foul ball?
Yeah, I guess it just pushed him back a few days. So he was originally scheduled to start on Sunday, and he's now going to start on Wednesday in Texas. So I think it was a pretty minor thing, but they just didn't want to take any chances with it. And I actually think it's probably in the big picture, it's a good thing that he got some extra days off because, we are into August now. He's been doing this all year with hardly any days off. You remember the last time he was a two-way player, he had like 3 days off a week where he didn't hit, and now he's got basically none. So as we go further into the year, toll on his body is going to be a little more, and I don't think there's any harm in him getting those extra 3 days off from pitching.
Tell us what happened to the Angels before the trade deadline.
Well, it was very interesting. I think a lot of people expected that they were going to trade away more of their players, or at least trade Raisel Iglesias, who was kind of their most attractive trade chip in terms of a player who's having a very good season and who's going to be a free agent at the end of this season. So if the Angels had decided that they probably were not going to make the playoffs this year, the best move is to get something for him now by trading him, get some prospects for him, as opposed to just keeping him until the end of the year and then having him leave as a free agent. I think that's what everybody expected them to do. They sort of surprised people by not trading him. And, Perry Manassian said that he basically didn't want to break up the team, that he felt like they deserved the chance to continue trying to make the playoffs, as long as their odds are. I think that they felt like maybe, if Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon come back and are good, and some of these young pitchers come up and are good, that they could make a run. That doesn't really fit with the others they did, because they also traded away Tony Watson and Andrew Heaney. And if you're really trying to compete this year, you would probably keep those guys. So it was sort of a mixed message.
Did all these trades that Angels made Did it make the team better or remain the same or worse?
Well, it didn't make them better in the short term. They basically unloaded 2 major league players and they picked up kind of 1 fringe major league player as far as right now. But they did pick up 5 young pitchers, or 4 young pitchers and 1 sort of young pitcher. And, you know, the Angels obviously need pitching. So if any of those guys turn into something good, you know, it could be a good deal for them. I remember a couple of years ago, the Angels acquired Max Stassi at the trading deadline, and everybody was kind of, you know, why would they want Max Stassi? He's never been able to hit. He's not any good. And Max Stassi's turned into a very good catcher, and he's been a big help to the Angels. So you have to kind of wait a little while to look at these things and see how good these players end up being.
The Angels recently promoted Reed Detmers, whom you said probably wouldn't make it to the majors this year, and Joe Adell, and Chris Rodriguez started. What do these things mean for the Angels? Are they still trying to make the playoffs or building for the future?
Well, that's another good question because, you know, it sort of goes counter to what they did by not trading Raisel Iglesias, because now they sort of did admit that they're trying to look at how these guys fit into the future plans. They're sort of building the 2022 team. So you think if they were already doing that, then they should have traded Raisel Iglesias, you know, and go fully working towards 2022. As it is, they still feel like probably they can win in the short term with those guys, just because the guys that they replaced have not been that great. And you know, if Reed Detmers and Chris Rodriguez and Joe Adell perform, you know, the Angels might not be any worse. They could be even a little better, you know, even in 2021. So we'll just see how it goes.
You tweeted that Justin Upton and Adam Eaton will probably split time from now on. They still have a year left with Justin Upton, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to affect his morale, or how do you think this is going to affect the team?
Well, I mean, he went through this last year where he basically got benched for Joe Adell early in the season. And by all accounts, he handled it as a pro. He realized that he wasn't performing up to the level that he could. He went and worked really hard, and then he did get his chance again, and he was really good for the last month or 6 weeks of the season. So I would assume he'll be doing the same thing. Just because they've given these opportunities to Brandon Marsh and Joe Adell doesn't mean they're going to succeed with them. So maybe 3 weeks from now, if those guys are really performing poorly, maybe one of them goes back to the minor leagues and Justin Upton plays again. So nothing is permanent in baseball.
When are Trout and Rendon coming back?
That's a great question. I do not know the answer to those things. I would say Trout is probably going to come back sooner just because he was doing a lot of baseball activity and was pretty close to coming back in the middle of July. And then it seems like he maybe pushed it a little too hard and had a little bit of a setback. And so I don't know what he's doing now over the last week. We haven't really seen him very much. And Anthony Rendon is not doing any baseball activities. The last we asked Joe Madden about it. So that's not encouraging. And he's now going to probably need a rehab assignment when he is ready to come back. Trout will also need a rehab assignment. So even if both of those guys showed up today feeling perfectly ready to go, they would probably be a week away.
How about Jared Walsh?
He seems like he's closer. He has been doing baseball stuff. He's been hitting. He's been working out on the field. His injury was a lot less severe. He's eligible to come off the injured list this weekend, and I think there's a chance of that happening.